I remember it like it was yesterday. Hit him in the back of the head. He went down to the ground. Beer went everywhere. I mean, it was a mess. Sorry. I heard someone scream at me. They said, "Look out! He's shooting!" I didn't hear it in time. Tim shot the ball, clanked off the side of the rim, hit me in the back of the head. I couldn't remember anything. I blacked out for 3 or 4 hours. The fucked up part about it, I was in row 24. I wasn't even close to the court. But the shot was that bad that it still hit me in the head. They used to give us these. We used to walk into the stadium and they would hand us these. It got that bad. We'd have to put these on. We'd have to get to our seat and put these on. Do you know how embarrassing it is to sit in your seat for 3.5 hours wearing this? That was our life. That's what we had to do because it got that bad. But we don't have to worry about that anymore, huh? Wait, when do the Pistons come to Dallas? Ladies and gentlemen, the NBA is back. Ergo, we are back. And we have maybe never been more back. The Dallas Mavericks on opening night beat the San Antonio Spurs 120-109. And it was quite the experience. It was exactly what we were expecting to see from this Dallas Mavericks team. An offense that is absolutely lethal and unstoppable when it's clicking, and a strong, solid defense that's going to make it very difficult to beat this team when they're knocking down shots. Of course, the story of the game is Klay Thompson in his debut, 22 points, 7 of 13 from the field, 6 of 10 from deep. Apparently, that is a record for players making their Dallas Mavericks debut. The lucky Tony Romo didn't get on that court, because he would have let that thing fly. I'm very happy that Klay had a great debut, especially after his rough preseason where everyone just jumped to conclusions. You know, this is exactly what we were expecting to see from Klay. And this type of offense, of course, he's going to have nights where he's not making threes and, the stat line looks worse than this. But the offense, the process, this is exactly what we were expecting. That Klay Thompson's life is going to be so easy in Dallas, catching passes from Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. And because of that, Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic's life is also going to be much easier because they have one of the best floor spacers that has ever played the sport, still knocking down threes at an incredibly high clip. I mean, 9 out of the 10 threes that Klay Thompson attempted were either open or wide open, and he went 6 of 9 on those shots. I mean, just knocking him down at a lethal clip. In his first three with the Mavericks, I feel it's only right it was a difficult three like this off of an inbounds, going right in the corner, having to, line up his body midair, knocking down the three. That's an incredibly difficult shot for a right-handed shooter. Klay Thompson makes it look easy because that's what he does. My good friend Iztalk on Twitter pointed out this action by the Mavericks, the Spain pick and roll that they run, where Klay Thompson is one of the screeners, and how it's just a nightmare for other opposing defenses because you have Luka Doncic, who's one of the game's best pick and roll ball handlers ever, Derek Lively, who is a great pick and roll threat, and now added into that wrinkle, you have Klay Thompson popping out to the three-point line. There's just so many things you have to worry about, and that's why you see this action right here. Klay sets the screen, comes out, wide open for three, takes a dribble. Luka's flying down the other end of the court. Crowd's going crazy. And yeah, you might have seen me on TNT hyping it up. You might have seen me. That's me in the suit, looking great. Now the defense is so concerned about that play that they run it a few possessions later, and it still leads to a wide open look for Klay Thompson, this time on the other wing. I mean, this is going to be very, very difficult to stop. I mean, it's hard to even imagine how you could stop it. And there's an aspect to Klay's game that I feel is a little underrated, and that is his playmaking and passing. It's not something that he goes to all that often. It's not something that you really should expect out of him with any regularity, but he is capable of making the good reads. He is capable of coming off of ball screens and making a solid pass out. I mean, they're obviously different as players, but just like Luka, just like Kyrie, Klay attacks so much attention. So he flies off of this dribble handoff from Daniel Gafford, and the defense is so worried about that. Daniel Gafford dives to the rim. It leaves Kyrie open for a wide open three, and Klay makes the right read, kick out. Now Kyrie Irving's shooting a wide open three. I mentioned this in the video I made after the signing became official, but one of the more exciting aspects of this to me was Klay Thompson shooting threes in transition. The threat of that. This is a Mavericks team that lost some of their best transition players in the offseason. Derek Jones Jr., Josh Green, 2 of their better athletes, 2 guys who like to get out and run the floor, catch lobs from Luka, catch outlets from Luka. This Mavericks team still wants to play fast. They still want to get up the court, but it's a different style now. Here you see Wemby settling for a dog shit fadeaway shot. His shot selection was terrible last night. We'll get into it. But a long rebound for Luka. He's bringing the ball up the floor. Mavs playing with some pace. Klay gets to his spot on the wing. Wide open three in transition. That's a three that Klay Thompson loves. That's a three that he's going to shoot quite a bit this season, if I had to guess. Similar here. Mavs getting the ball up the floor. Luka to the corner. Defense in rotation. Nice pass fake from Klay. misses the three, but a tremendous look. Nice rebound by Daniel Gafford. But those are the looks that the Mavericks are hoping to get Klay Thompson in transition. He doesn't have to fly off screens. He doesn't have to do anything. Just get to a spot on the floor and just trust that Luka Doncic is going to find you. That's going to happen all the time. Speaking of Luka Doncic and passing, what in the world is this pass, man? I mean, talking about having trust in your teammates, knowing P.J. Washington's going to the corner. The last time he makes eye contact with P.J. Washington is at the wing. And he just instinctively knows, obviously, PJ is going to float to the corner. I have a 7'4" freakazoid guarding me. I'm just going to throw it over my head. PJ Washington, you better not sell that clip. And he didn't. Beautiful. But back to the topic of transition. The Mavericks got out and ran in this game against the Spurs. 22% of their plays were in transition. 50% of live ball rebounds ended up in a transition possession for the Mavericks. That is a huge number. They scored 1.28 points per possession on those plays, so they were very efficient whenever they got out and ran the floor. And Naji Marshall, who also made his Dallas Mavericks debut in this game, you look at his stat line, 1 of 6 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3, 2 points, only 3 assists, nothing too spectacular. But he was a big reason why the Mavericks are getting out in transition, and he is going to be a big reason the Mavericks are getting out in transition over the course of the season. Because it's similar to what I was saying about Klay Thompson, is Naji Marshall is a good transition player. It's just not the same type of transition you saw from the guys like Derek Jones Jr. and Josh Green. It's running the floor. It's bringing the ball up the court. It's making passes, kickouts, passes to cutters, whatever the case may be. It's not going to be this high-flying, explosive transition offense that we saw at times from the Mavericks last year, but it's still going to be just as efficient. Here, Naji gets the rebound off a Champagny miss. Champagny had a really good game in this one, by the way. Quick little outlet up to Kyrie, and Kyrie is going to finish that layup, even though Kyrie did smoke a few in this game, but that's an easy finish for Kyrie. Again, more transition for the Mavericks. Trey Jones misses. Good contest by Lively. Maxey with the board. Outlet to Naji. Naji brings the ball up. Attacks the paint. Keldon Johnson sucks in from the corner. Wide open three for Maxi Kleber. And I think Mavericks fans are really going to enjoy Naji Marshall's playmaking over the course of the season. Jaden Hardy gets pressed in the backcourt. Gets it up to Naji Marshall. Easy 3-on-2 situation. I'm lobbing that thing up. Stats-wise, it was the tale of two halves in this game. The Mavericks put up 47 points in the first half of this game. They were 26% from 3 on 23 attempts, so they were letting that thing fly early and often. Even worse, their first quarter numbers, they were 2 of 11 from 3 in the first quarter. But process-wise, it was just as good as the second half. I mean, they were getting good looks. They were getting clean looks. They just weren't converting. I think a little bit of that is rust, but some of that is also you shoot a lot of threes. You're just due for some poor shooting quarters, poor shooting halves, poor shooting games. It's going to happen. But then in the second half, the Mavericks dropped 73 points. They had a 40-point third quarter. No team in the NBA last year had more 40-point quarters than the Dallas Mavericks. They get one on opening night, and they went 13 of 21 from 3. You're not going to beat them if they're shooting like that. You're just not. Luka had 19 points in the second half. He just couldn't buy a basket in the first half. Lots of clean looks. Again, just couldn't get him to drop. He's still just so crafty, and it's just so subtle. Like this quick little pass fake here on this layup that just gets Zach Collins flying the other direction. It just says easy finish. It's really subtle, but that's just what Luka, everything that he does has a purpose. It is crafty. He's just an incredible basketball player. And hey, he didn't have a good first half scoring-wise, shooting-wise, but he was playing some defense. Look at him break up this lob. Get up there, Luka. Breaking up a lob to Wemby. That's what he does. He's a defensive player now. He's Tony Allen. In the first half of this game, he transformed into Tony Allen. No offense, all defense. And we have to give a shout out to the Mavs defensively. They played really well in this game. This is a Spurs team that was without Devin Vassell. He did not play. Integrating new pieces. Harrison Barnes was popping the fuck off in the first quarter. But Chris Paul, his first game with the Spurs, they looked rough. They really did look rough. I don't know how much of it, because we just haven't seen too there's just not a sample size to go off of. I don't know how much of it was the Mavericks defense versus the Spurs porous offense, but I thought the Mavericks did play really well defensively, and they did a great job on Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama just really struggles against this Mavericks team. He's played 4 games in his career against the Mavs, 17.5 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, 39% from the field, 26% from 3. He just doesn't look comfortable in these games against the Mavericks. And I think it's because the Mavericks just have a lot of size and physicality they can throw at Victor Wembanyama. Maxi Kleber deserves quite a bit of credit for how well he played defensively in this game. Maxi can be a bit of a frustrating player because offensively he struggles at times, but I think even more than that, he's just not reliably on the court enough. He's just injured all the time. But when he's on the floor, he's very important to this Mavericks team because there's just not a lot of defenders in the NBA who have the skill set that Maxi Kleber has. Thought PJ Washington did a good job whenever he was guarding Victor Wembanyama. The team as a whole did a good job. But Derek fucking Lively, man. Is Derek Lively actually the Wemby stopper? Like, is this something that we need to actually start really monitoring? He had another great game against the Spurs, 15 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. We saw in the preseason the Mavericks go to Lively as this sort of playmaking hub in the high post. And with the dribble handoff, with how lethal it is, it leaves opportunities like that, where Naji Marshall cuts to the basket and Derek Lively can make the right read and find him for an easy basket. I'm just so impressed with how comfortable he is, his feel for the game, the reads that he makes. It just seems like he's always makes the right play. Feels like, you know, a 20-year-old center, it would be more than understandable if there was still stuff that he was needing to work out, if he still needed game reps to sort of get comfortable on the basketball court and understand what he was doing at a high level, at a high processing speed. But it just feels like he doesn't make any mistakes, like rarely ever. And yeah, Wemby did have a pretty nasty block on Derek Lively, but that's all right because Derek Lively got his lick early in the game with this nasty poster right here. Oh! You love to see that. He might be the Wemby stopper, folks. I mean, this was all with Luka having a tough shooting start to the game, with Kyrie Irving just, you know, having a tough game in general. 15 points, 6 of 17 from the field. Didn't even play in the fourth quarter because he didn't need to because the game was kind of out of reach. Similar stuff for Kyrie Irving. Thought he got good looks, just, you know, couldn't make them. It happens. So, I mean, if the offense looked this good in this game, what's it going to look like when Luka comes out the gate like a man possessed, like we usually see, and he's dropping 38 points, and Kyrie comes out and has 28 points on, you know, 15 shots? Then how many points are we talking? What's the ceiling? Also, another thing I'm monitoring, I think this Mavericks team is going to crush 43-point attempts per game this season. They had 44 last night. I fully expect that number to stick around there most nights. They're going to be bombing away from three. They were the second. They shot the second most threes in the league last year. They're going to put that thing up there. Anyway, successful opening night. I'm excited to see how this season pans out for the Mavericks. I'm excited to see how it pans out for the Spurs as well. I didn't think this was a good game. Wemby was settling quite a bit. I think just from what we've seen so far in preseason and the regular season, I don't know if Wemby, the breakout is going to happen just yet offensively. I think there's just still stuff they need to iron out. But they'll still be a really fun team to watch over the course of the season, especially as they get rolling. And once Devin Vassell is back. Speaking of back, I'm back.